The Office of County Executive, Chautauqua County, New York. Proclamation. Whereas childhood cancer is the leading cause of death by disease for children in the United States, and whereas pediatric cancer can occur in different places throughout the body, such as in lymph nodes, the nervous system, muscles, bones, and skin. And whereas in the United States, 46 children per day, or 16,790 children per year, are diagnosed with cancer. And whereas, according to the New York State Cancer Registry, from 2015 to 2019, there was an annual average of 998 cases of cancer in youths ages 0 to 19 in the state, and an annual average of 7 cases of cancer in youth in Chautauqua County. And whereas in the United States, 80% of childhood cancer patients are diagnosed late and with metastatic disease, an estimated 40,000 children are on active treatment at any given time, and 20% of the children with cancer will not survive. And whereas over the last 30 years, only 6 new drugs have been developed to specifically treat childhood cancer. And whereas 2/3 of pediatric cancer patients will have chronic health conditions as a result of their treatment's toxicity, and 1/4 being classified as severe to life-threatening. And whereas, depending on the type of cancer, pediatric cancer treatments can take several months or even years, taking an enormous toll on children, as well as creating emotional and financial hardships for families trying to do the best they can to support their children's battles. And whereas hundreds of not-for-profit organizations at the local and national level, including our own Callie's Crusade, are helping children with cancer and their families cope through educational, emotional, and financial support. And whereas too many children are affected by this deadly disease, and more must be done to raise awareness, further research, and treatment, and find a cure. Now, therefore, we, Paul M. Wendell Jr., Chautauqua County Executive, Pierre E. Chagnon, Chairman of the Chautauqua County Legislature, Legislator Martin Proctor, Legislator District 18, John Davis, Legislator District 16, and Elizabeth Rankin, Legislator District 12, do hereby proclaim the month of September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in Chautauqua County. And we urge residents and community organizations to come together to raise awareness about pediatric cancer, honor the courageous children who continue to fight their cancer, and remember the children who were taken from us much too soon, and support initiatives to help us find better treatments and end cancer. In witness whereof, we have hereto set our hands and caused the seal of the great county of Chautauqua to be affixed on this 23rd day of August, 2023. Signed myself, Martin J. Proctor, District 18, Elizabeth Rankin, District 12, Pierre E. Chagnon, Chairman, and John E. Davis, Legislator, District 16. Now, at this time, we would like to ask families or childhood cancer survivors or those battling cancer to please join us at this time.
So once again, thank you. Thank you all for your support in honoring Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month. I have my own story that some may know, in which my 3.5-year-old daughter, Callie, died from acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And every child up here, along with their family, have their own stories. Many have twists and turns, bumps and bruises, obstacles and adversity, but all extremely dissimilar stories. As you witnessed, it was like pulling teeth to get some of them to come up here, but it's because none of them are wanting the spotlight or looking for recognition as a fighter or a survivor or a hero. Fighting monumental battles, defying the odds, overcoming any and every obstacle set in their way. None of them even want to be known as a child with cancer. They just want to be viewed as a normal child, growing up and doing normal, childlike, or teen-like things. Kids with cancer need some normalcy in a world that is anything but normal. And this reminds me of a poem that I once read and really held dearly. They ride tricycles in the hallways, not the park. They know the names of their chemo instead of their classmates. The nurses and doctors become their new family and friends. Their laughter will make your heart melt. Their strength will make a grown person cry. If you've ever seen a kid fighting cancer, it will change your life forever. In your efforts to bring more attention to pediatric cancer here in Chautauqua County, you are doing just that, bringing more normalcy, raising awareness, changing the perception, and letting these children, along with their families, know that they don't have to fight alone. So thank you. Thank you.
Hold on. Yeah. I've asked Laura Layton if she would say a few words as well. Laura has a story to share with all of us.
Good evening. I'd like to first take a moment and just say thank you for the invitation here today. It affords me an opportunity to tell my story as it relates to the impacts my family endured when presented with a diagnosis of cancer. As you know, my name is Laura Layton. I'm a grandmother of 3 boys. I'm more affectionately known as Nani to those boys. 2 of those boys are identical twins, Christian and Carson. They are the sons of my oldest son, Corey, and together we managed through the cancer care plan for Christian. On March of 2020, 2 days prior to the twins' 2nd birthday, Christian was diagnosed with 4th stage high-risk neuroblastoma, a diagnosis that I had never encountered in 25 years of being in the medical field. A diagnosis that immediately threw us into a blur for the next several days as we were seeking medical treatment for what we thought was a problem with constipation. We were unaware that this very common symptom was indicative of neuroblastoma. In fact, I didn't know much about childhood cancer at all as it pertains to the treatment protocol, funding, or what the children and their families actually endured. I do now. When faced with a diagnosis of cancer, we experience the shock, the extreme feeling of suffering, and the potential loss of our child every single day. It was the barrier that prevented us from actually understanding and learning about clinical trials, medications that would be administered, and all the treatment therapy that Christian would endure. Our day-to-day normal life was turned upside down, and the needs of our children left at home were tasked to others. We were many days out of work with a loss of income, which had an added impact on the level of stress to our emotional, physical, and mental well-being. Upon diagnosis, we were quickly immersed into the medical system as an urgent admit to our new normal instantly was consumed by medical care and managing the needs of Christian through this treatment process. We were absorbing unknown terms, learning how to properly care for and maintain medication port lines, measuring medication and administering 9 to 10 different medications twice a day, managing a timeline to fit in travel for weekly clinic visits for tests, and it was, to say the least, overwhelming. Pediatric cancer treatment requires continuous parental and/or caregiver presence through the entire treatment process. Hospitalization admissions are lengthy, and the stay is always undetermined. Admissions can last from anywhere from 1 week to 1 month, depending on the child's ability to recover from that treatment. Frequent hospital admissions are expected due to the side effects of the chemotherapy and/or other protocol therapy the child endures, some of which are unscheduled. We found ourselves in emergency situations multiple times when infections would flare up due to bacteria building up in existing ports, or just our child not recovering from the chemotherapy that he had received. pediatric cancer caregivers do not leave the hospital. They don't leave the hospital room. It requires one to stay to recover. You stay for a week, you could stay for a month, and at times we did just that. You are confined to the room most of the time, and some days if your child feels well enough, you can walk or play in the halls on the hospital floor you are admitted to. And if you are lucky enough to play in those halls and meet other children and their parents and caregivers, we quickly learn to cherish every minute, every little smile, and every giggle, because the next day or next week, that child you made friends with may not be there again. This throws you into a state of post-traumatic stress symptoms, reliving the initial fear of losing your child as it resurfaces again and again and again. Sleep is limited there at the hospital. You don't sleep through admissions. The nurses' protocols are in and out of the room frequently, monitoring vitals, drawing bloods, etc. Post-stem cell transplants we endured required another additional isolation period of 100 days due to the distance from our home to the hospital and the urgency to seek medical care if there was a negative reaction to that treatment required a 3-month isolation stay in a local hospital in Buffalo, New York. Clinical follow-ups and repeat scans are lifelong to monitor the potential effects of the chemotherapy, such as hearing loss, vision loss, and the check for relapse of cancer. I now refer to those scans and tests as my scan anxiety. The fear of cancer returning at any time in the future and the potential side effects from chemotherapy will forever be haunting to my family. Fast forwarding today with a lot of self-education and support around us, a lot of charities and funds bringing forth education, we now understand what neuroblastoma is, and we now understand the impact that it has on the children in our nation. National pediatric cancer funding is at 4%. That's all pediatric cancers combined, while other adult cancers substantially have more funding and more exposure to the public know. I'd like to see pediatric cancer in Chautauqua County and the funding increased, and therefore I'm proud to stand tall with Chautauqua County as we bring awareness this September to childhood cancer in our community. Families caring for a child with a cancer diagnosis need to know there are resources in our community. And I know that our children are our future, and they deserve more than 4. Thank you.
Again, we just like to thank everyone for being here. It's a challenging time. I know some of these children are battling day in and day out, but with your support and your help, we would like to do what we can to bring awareness, one, to childhood cancer and hopefully bring an end or at least some significant progress in treatment. Thank you.